Welcome back to a brand new live stream on the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Now, since the last time we have been live, it has been around 3 to 4 days. So that a lot has happened in that 3 to 4 days. Bitcoin has just been consolidating in the same area, but we did get some inflation numbers that did come out. And although inflation did go up slightly, it's not anything to be concerned about. They did come in as expected, so it's not, like I said, it's not anything to be worried about at the moment. Unemployment is looking strong at the moment, so the Fed is in a very weird situation right now, and that's why they've been a bit reluctant to cut the rates. So you guys can see core inflation came in at 2.9, which was what they forecasted to come in. Some people were predicting 3%, but it came in 2.9, which is fairly good. But inflation year over year actually came in higher than they was expecting. But if those people that follow Trueflation, you would know that we've seen an increase in inflation in June, and then we've seen a decrease in July. So, very, very likely as this month wraps up, we will see on Trueflation what the data is going to come out, because the data comes in 1 month previous. So we're getting the data for June. In June, inflation rose back up. So in July next month, in August, we're going to get the July numbers. And I do think inflation maybe will come back down to the 2.5% to 2.4% area, maybe back down to this, the previous level, or slightly lower. It all depends, because Trueflation is saying right now we're at around 2% region, which is, at the Fed's target. But the Fed uses very, very old metrics. But although inflation came in slightly higher, let me just double check everything's running smooth. Hold on. Let's go on the latest comment. Okay, it looks like we're good. So PPI actually came in quite surprising. So the forecast was 2.8. It came in 2.6. The previous was 3.2. When PPI comes down, it kind of puts a little bit more pressure on the Fed to cut rates, because food and energy and stuff it becomes cheaper, which means that other inflation doesn't really matter too much. I think PPI is the one that Fed uses, the most to decide if they want to cut rates or not. So, we had some decent data coming in, which is obviously positive. But the only thing we have to look forward to is the Fed meeting, which is at the end of this month, in a few weeks, literally in a week's time, which is going to tell us, are they going to do a surprise cut, or are they just going to keep interest rates the same? The market at the moment is forecasting, let's just have a look. I think the market is forecasting no rate cuts in July. So, like I said, if we end up getting a surprise cut, you're going to see an explosion in the markets. Very, very likely, we most likely will not. Some Fed is against it. Some Fed wants to cut. There's a lot of rumors that Powell might get fired. It is hard to say. In September, I think the first rate cut will probably come in September. At the moment, it's 50-50. But as we get more data, and the reason this is 50-50 is because this month's inflation numbers came in higher than people were predicting. People were expecting inflation to keep going down. But like I said, through Trueflation, we're seeing an increase in June and then a decrease in July. So next month's data in August, we're going to get July's data is going to come in lower, and then you're going to see this change around a lot. So this will probably go back up to 60-70%. And then you can see this come back down to 20, 30, even maybe 40%. We'll see. But other than that, we also had the Genesis Act. We had 3 crypto policies that passed, which is very, very bullish. We had the Stablecoin Act, the Genesis Act, and another act. And all this does is it gives a clarity in legislation for crypto. Big companies, retail, and all these other guys can now, publicly and legally deal with crypto, which is very positive. You're seeing a massive increase in Ethereum. Sharplink has been accumulating Ethereum aggressively, and throughout this period over here, we had record levels of short piled up for Ethereum, and now it looks like all those shorts are getting liquidated. So people made their money on the shorts. Some people held, thinking Ethereum is just going to keep going lower. They keep getting squeezed, and then we end up going higher. So Ethereum's only 500 away from his 2024 highs. So if it goes above 4,000, you're going to see dominance come down aggressively. So as long as dominance as long as it stays below this 200-day moving average, or even as high as the previous wick, which is around 63.15. We can always get a little scare in the market. This goes back up, gets rejected, and it comes down lower. You're never going to see this go down in a straight line. Even previously, when we had a drop in dominance, it's never ever been a straight line. You get bounces, you get wicks back up, so you are going to get a little bit of change in dominance, but the overall picture right now looks bullish because we're below the 200-day moving average, and it's staying below. And a lot of that has to do with how strong Ethereum is performing right now. And we are going to go over the top 5 altcoins I think people can still accumulate. Some of them are in very, very good ranges. If BTC, well above the 200-day moving average. So very, very positive. And I think Ben Cowan, from some of the chat I was seeing in my Discord, Ben Cowan has now potentially flipped bullish on ETH BTC, and he's doing a butterfly type of prediction where Ethereum's probably going to go put in a new high, and we're going to end up going to bear market after that's done. So hit the likes, guys. No one's ever going to stream on a Saturday because I do have a wedding tomorrow, so I can't stream tomorrow. So I did decide to quickly stream today just to update you guys on what's happening, on potential updates from our projects, etc. So Matt, good to see you, buddy. Southlex, Delario, good to see you. Brian, Savage, DK, Kim, good to see you. Mazar, good to see you. Steve, good to see you, my friend. Kodak, D-Clan, good to see you as well, buddy. Complete, Shabazz, good to see you. Andreas, very good to see you, my friend. Big GG, good to see you. Walaikum salam to you as well, my friend. I was wondering, will coins like XRP, Sui, major high caps hit a huge bear market? Yes, of course. Listen, as the market progresses and the markets develop and we end up going higher and higher, what you're going to see is you're going to see more and more ridiculous predictions. Nothing is bigger than the program, my friend. It doesn't matter what people tell you. If BTC goes down, they will all go down. If people know, and this is the part, right, where people think the whales are the ones that control these high caps. It's not retail. Retail, even if it goes down, they will always believe it's just a correction. It has a bounce, goes down. It's just a correction. That's how they think. Or they do this up until the bear market lows, and then they sell. And then the whales that's just been selling into retail consistently, those guys buy back in once retail sells, and then the altcoin bottoms out. So nothing is bigger than program, my friend. Everything will drop in a bear market. It doesn't matter if it's the best coin in crypto. Even Bitcoin will go down 50 to 60 to 70%. So you already know the altcoins are going to go down 80, 90. Most of them are going to go down 99.9%. So do not be one of those guys that think just because we have ETFs now and we have all these other stuff, that Bitcoin and these low altcoins, most of these altcoins, that they might not even be around next cycle. You got to keep that in mind. Obviously, Solana will be around, Sui and XRP will be around, but adoption does not matter. The adoption does not matter, my friend. Adoption means they're getting used. It does not mean people are going to go out of their way to buy the token. There's a big difference. Adoption is good for the chain because it generates revenue, but majority of these chains, for example, Solana has unlimited supply. So it's not like Solana has a deflationary system. It doesn't. It has unlimited max supply. So they can, as time goes on, the more adoption that happens, these guys will keep minting new tokens. And if they need to sell, they'll just keep selling. It's that simple. There's no such thing as, I think once we hit the total supply for Solana, there's going to be more because the max supply is infinite. So as time goes on, as more adoption happens, these coins are just going to get bigger and bigger in market cap, but the price is not going to be as high as there was previously just because of dilution. I mean, let's look at the market cap in the last cycle, and let's look at price, right? Price in 2020 cycle, 2021 cycle, price was pretty much the same as this cycle. But what has the market cap done? The market cap has done almost, basically double what it was previously, almost double. The market cap right now of Solana is higher than it was in the previous cycle of the all-time highs, but the price-wise, obviously, not much difference. You see the difference? That's where dilution comes into play. And as time goes on, Solana, Sui, XRP, and all these coins are going to get diluted heavier and heavier, and it's going to be harder to make money in these high caps as time goes on because they'll start to get fully diluted. There's some ridiculous numbers on XRP. People are stupid. That's what these guys do to make you exit liquidity. Daimo, good to see you, my friend. I wish I was a federal chair, bro. Fucking Powell spent $2 billion on his office. I would have spent $500 million and pocketed the rest of the money. Phenom, how you doing, bro? All AI tech and props will explode. 100% agree with you. Now, people always ask me, because what tends to happen in the people that follow me and the people that's in my private group, the people that in my public group, whatever it is, people always they always ask me, why isn't alt pumping, or why isn't this coin pumping, or most of the time is always alt, and that's because alt does not like to pump with the market, whereas all the other coins generally move up with the markets, and this is the only one that does not pump with the markets. And one of the main reason is, it does have to do with a lack of marketing. And I am in contacts with the team. I am helping the team with the marketing. I have just applied, or I've just reached out, or I made the team reach out to some of the biggest names in the crypto space to promote, or the likes of House of Crypto, Banter, Alex Becker, all of these guys, all will reach out to them, and and they will pay the price, even if they get one or two of these guys, the Kyle Chases and all these. I've just reached out to the biggest influencers in the crypto space, and if even one of them accepts, then what happens is everyone starts to see all the development of all. It gets on a lot of people's radar, and this is something that they were lacking. And this is something they are going to fix now, because they've reached out, like I said, they've reached out to the top of the biggest influencers in the space, even if one of them just says yes, because a lot of these influencers, they follow each other. They have their little groups or whatever. If, for example, if House of Crypto makes a video on alt, maybe two other influencers, maybe Kyle Chase looks at it and he likes it. Maybe another influencer, another Twitter shiller looks at it and he likes it, and the word gets spread. So, ultimately, all you need is one big YouTuber to back you and follow you, then people flock in. So just like Sensei, for example, House of Crypto made a video on Sensei, and since then, if you go on Twitter, my feed is full of Twitter shillers shilling Sensei, and look how it's pumped almost 3x from the lows again. Sensei will always pump the markets, but not all coins are like that. And and people say, "Oh, alt is the only thing that's not pumping." It's not alt specifically; it's the narrative. Let's look at some of the other coins in the deep-in narrative. Let's look at Natix. Natix is another good deep-in project. Has this pumped with the markets recently? No, it hasn't. It's not. You look at it's down 25% the last 30 days. Hasn't pumped with the markets, not the last 7 days, not the last 14 days. Let's look at some of the bigger ones. Let's look at Aether. Aether, one of the biggest deep-in projects. They generate the most revenue. This is one that a lot of people already knows. They have massive volume, and they got a big following. What has this done? It's pumped 26%, and that is not because it pumped 20% because deep-in's pumping. It pumped because House of Crypto made a video on it. That's it. And look at Ion it. A lot of these high caps has not been pumping. It's not specifically, individual coins. It's just the narrative. It's just not there. Look at this one. It's up 14% the last 30 days. But they're all in the range lows. Look at Peak. Peak is another one of the biggest layer ones in the space with a massive ecosystem. And look at the chart on this. Look at the 3-month chart. They just look like Deepin is in a strong phase. This is how a majority of Deepin coins are. It's up 6 to 7% the last 7 days. It's not just one coin, and people don't realize this because they get blindsided because that's the only coin they hold in their portfolio that's not pumping. I've told people that watch my channel for the last year and a half I've been on YouTube, crypto doesn't work by individual coins. It works in narratives. When the narrative hits, all of the coins pump. You have to put your money in the best narratives. When AI agents hit, all pumped 3, 4, 5x in like a space of a week. All these other AI agents will pump it. when Deepin pumps, and Deepin has been a very undervalued sector, and that's why I think Deepin will explode this year at some point, it will pump. AI tech is another one, and people say, oh, it's a marketing problem. If that's the case, then AI tech has one of the best marketing teams in the crypto space. Why has this not pumped with the markets? This is another strong Deepin coin. It's not individual coins, and I don't know how to explain this to people. It's always narratives. So the Deepin narrative is not at its hottest right now, but I do think it will come back very strong, and that's what I'm betting on. That's why I still hold alt. If I thought the Deepin narrative was going to be dead, I would have probably sold my alt. But I believe in the Deepin narrative. You have to believe in the narrative, and the individual coin, of course. But if they're consistently developing, you don't really have much to worry about. The only thing that alt lacked was marketing, and that's going to be sorted within the next couple of weeks. So you don't even have to be worried about that. Tell me trading EMA indicators. Where's my hold on? The best indicators are the standard MACD, the standard, this is another good one. Money supply is another good one. This buy signal thing is very good. VMC Cypher is pretty good, my friend, if you want to use that one. I just use the 50-day moving average for BTC, but you can always use the other AMAs as a, I have the AMAs over here, the 50, 100, and 200. However, I've only kept the 50-day moving average because that's the most accurate one to tell you where BTC is going to go in the short term. Thoughts on Zero Land, the TVL almost 20x the current market cap, almost zero unlocks. I think I've seen this shit, bro. This shit, is this the one that was pumping aggressively? I've seen a gaming coin that was just pumping nonstop. Oh, okay, this is not. What the fuck? Yo, that's some crazy TVL. No wonder you had such an aggressive spike. Yeah, that's a very, very impressive TVL. Let me just... Oh, it's on linear. Is this the DEX for linear? Yield big. Okay. Yep. This can do well. And the reason I say this can do well is very, very simple. You look at Sui in the initial phase when it was pumping aggressively. The DEX done well, the Launchpad done well, but the one that done very well was the yield, the DeFi version of the main chain. So if you believe in linear, then Zero Lend can do very well. The market cap, I think it's worth a risk. I might actually buy some of this. I don't want to buy it now because the chart looks kind of fucked. It looks like it'll probably come down again, but it's not worth buying now. Let the chart come back down. If there's barely any unlocks, the TVR looks very impressive. The exchange listings look good. It could be worth chucking a small amount in. And if linear performs, this will be one of the top performers along with linear. So yeah, decent project, my friend. I'll keep this on my watch list. Yeah, let me keep this on my watch list. I like this. It's not bad. Zero Lend. I'll leave it on here for now. Zero Lend. I'll have a look into it later. It doesn't look that bad, I'll leave it in here. Zero Lend. Good shout, my friend. Very good shout. Gaming, good to see you as well. How you doing? Full AI Deepin, would you choose Autos, Chirp token? Look, for RWA plays, I don't know why you would want to buy Autos. Autos is decent, and the reason it's decent is because maybe at some point when RWA pumps, you're going to see some KOLs push it, but it is one of those that does not have a lot of volume, not a lot of, it doesn't look like there's a lot of interest, and there's, look at the volume, it's not that impressive. 200k volume for the market cap is really bad in my opinion. So, and that is because they only got they got 3 listings actually. That's not even that bad. It just maybe they don't have bots, or maybe they don't have specific. I don't know, man. This just looks like a nice stable coin. It'll probably break out at some point. The thing is, like, once the narrative hits, they're all pump anyways. Do I think Autos can do well? I think Autos is decent. However, for this market cap, I probably would rather go with StateX because they're kind of in a similar market cap range. You'd rather go for StateX. And the reason I say that is because, a lot of people say, oh, what about the unlock for StateX? Well, 70% of all the pre-sales or the idols, the early investors, they've staked their tokens on average of 7 years. 70% is a lot. There's only 30% and is linear, slowly unlocked. It's not aggressive unlocks. It's unlocked over the space of a year and a half for some of them. And the early investors, they get their tokens in 4 months or 6 months. So, probably towards the end of the bull run anyways. So it's not like you have to worry about unlocks aggressively. However, let the chart bottom out, it could even come down. If it breaks this region right here, it could come down slightly more. But this is a layer 1 for RWA. We don't really have many successful layer 1s, and there's going to be a bunch of projects building on StateX. They've already secured a few for their launchpad. They're going to secure more, and they got the CEO of Remax, which is worth $250 million. The CEO of that company joining them for the Web2 side, which is quite impressive. Whereas Autos is good, but reality is no one's ever going to use this platform, bro. Rarely anyone will use it. I don't really see the point of people wasting the USDT to rent a car. Most people won't do it. This could be a good platform to use after the bull run, once people actually make money. Right now, most people don't even they ain't made shit. The recent developments, have your opinion changed on a potential alt season setup for the next look? Look, I'm very, very bullish. Ever since the big, beautiful bill passed, I've always been bullish. And I still remain very, very bullish. You are going to see little liquidity grabs. We could always come down to 113, maybe a retest of this trend line again, to grab the liquidity there and then shoot higher. It doesn't matter. Short-term dips should be used as buying opportunities. It should never ever be, if it comes down here, no one should ever get scared. We can always even wick below, bounce off the bull market support band. There's always a chance, which would put us at the 113 to 114K region. And then we can always shoot back up. Liquidity down and then back up to liquidate some of the longs is never, it most likely will happen at some point. So I wouldn't be concerned of any mini dips. I think they're great buying opportunities. A lot of people are in the disbelief phase where they don't really believe this rally. And what will happen is the bears, when this comes down here, they're going to expect it to come down here, back to the 100K region. And then they're never going to get the opportunity. The bears missed their chance. As soon as we broke out of this formation, there's people that's been watching me. I told them, if we don't break out of this formation, the next likely area we'll look for is the 95 to 94K region, which clearly didn't happen because we broke out, retested and held, and then we exploded up. And since then, the big beautiful bill has passed. Ethereum is flying, and that is because, as I said, when that bill passed, people get more risk on when there's more liquidity injections going to be happening in the future. The market front run stuff. If there's liquidity injections coming in the future, with the debt ceiling being increased to an extra 5 trillion, then people like to get a little bit more risk on. And with the potential rate cuts come in, that's even more risk on. So, I would say for the next 4 to 6 months, we're bullish. I would probably say between 3 to 5 months. 4 to 6 months is a bit too much. Munity updates. I'm still holding my Munity. If gaming comes back, you most likely will see anywhere between a 30 to 100x on Munity, just because it's basically a micro cap now. It's between 1 to 200K in cap. And I don't know where the FUD is coming from Munity. Bro, 99%, almost 100% of gaming coins, maybe apart from Beam and Superverse, are down between 95 to 99%. They're all in the same boat. This is why I've very, very strictly said, only put in where you can afford to lose, because the only way you're going to make a 50 to 100x at this stage of the cycle is if gaming returns. If gaming returns, all these dead gaming projects, there's going to be a fucking handful of them doing 50 to 100x's. That's where you're going to make your 100x's. You either take the risk or you don't. I'm willing to take that risk. Why? Because even if Munity fucking rug pulls, which I don't really see it happening, because the team's still developing. A lot of people say, but they're going to rug pull. Bro, why would someone rug pull when they're giving out 10K in rewards to get early access to the game? It doesn't make sense. Why would you be giving out 10K in rewards if you're planning on rug pulling a coin, it makes zero sense. Some people are just impatient, they over invested, and then what happens is when they over invest and the token don't perform, it's not the token's fault, it's the narrative's fault, and then they start flooding their own bags. This is why a lot of people retail are just retarded in crypto. This is why a majority of them just don't make money. How many people do you think sold in the last 3 to 6 months? I can imagine most of retail sold, panic sold, and they probably sitting in either cash or they just fucked off out of crypto. And then watch them FOMO back in when Bitcoin hits 130, 140, and then they will be used as exit liquidity. They will never ever win because they can't wait and they can't hold their bags. Every single time we've been bullish, Community pumped. In December, it pumped almost 8x, 6 to 8x. Before that, it pumped. Every single time we've been bullish is pumped aggressively. Even a few months ago, it pumped like almost 4x when in April or some shit. So, you don't have to be worried. It can always go down lower, but you have to be willing to take some risk. How else are you going to get 50 to 100x at this stage of the cycle? You won't be able to unless it's a micro cap gaming coin. So, and they're still updating. The game drops. They're in the early access phase. And one thing people got to understand with gaming coins specifically and their bullish news announcements is pointless to release massive news now because no one cares. These guys can drop 5 games in a row and they probably will pump 2 to 3x and then just fucking get dumped afterwards because people just want consistent shit back to back to back. And you can't do that because it's a gaming coin. They can only do so much. They've already released one game and they're on the verge of releasing their second game and they got a third game afterwards. But what's the point of releasing your bullish news if the narrative is dead? It doesn't make sense. And when they don't release too much news back to back, people just call it a rug. And then later down the line, when the narrative returns and these guys start blasting partnerships and updates and listings, and then people are just going to act like they weren't flooding for the last 6 months. That's what happens. This is how crypto works. People are stupid, bro. Like if you're one of those people that go on CoinMarketCap and listen to the comments of some of the retards in there, then you're no better than those guys, honestly, because I've checked the CoinMarketCap of this. There's always this one retard that just sits there and floods it every day, bro. Like these people got no lives or something that's weird. But yeah, like I said, they're in the early access mode, so you got up until 5th of August to play the early access, and you can win 10K in rewards. So and then once the early access phase is done, they'll probably release the game, and then everyone that was bearish will probably get bullish again. This is just how crypto works, bro. There's not much I can say about immunity. It's in a gaming narrative. Gaming is dead. It will come back at some point though, and one of the main reasons it could come back is Sui is doing something with Pokemon. Everyone knows Pokemon. We all grew up, watching Pokemon or at least heard of Pokemon. Sui is doing something with Pokemon, and that could potentially kickstart a mini gaming season. And all it takes is all it takes is 2 to 3, 4, 5 gaming coins to pump, and then everyone jumps on it, and that's how a narrative starts. AI agents, virtuals went crazy, and everyone jumped on the AI agent hype. That's all it takes. Last year, Ondo went crazy and everyone jumped on the RWA. In 2024, sorry, everyone jumped on an RWA hype. That's how narratives work. All it takes is one coin to perform aggressively and everyone jumps on that narrative. So keep that in mind. Bluefin is not bad, my friend. Bluefin isn't bad. Byte on virtuals, I have not looked into it. I'm not too bullish on the virtual ecosystem, and that is because they're just going to keep launching new tokens. And one thing you got to keep in mind, if you're launching nonstop, the other tokens don't really get a chance to shine because the ecosystem cannot, help that many projects. There's like literally a new project being launched on virtual every week. It's become a meme coin fest pretty much. Only 1 or 2 will do well on virtuals, maybe 3 max, but there's going to be hundreds that's just going to be dead in the background, bro. Virtual hype is done. The virtual hype was the initial phase where anything and everything on virtual was pumping. Now, I've always said the first wave of a narrative is the strongest. The second wave will never be as strong. If virtuals from this point on maybe goes back up to $6 or some shit, maybe $7, most coins will probably do a 3 to 10x max. That's it. That's not a narrative. That's not even worth being a narrative. And only a handful of them will do that numbers. Most of them will probably even not even pump because they're just in the background. They launched and the team rugged and fucked off. So I'm not really. I've seen Momo. It's just too high in cap to take the risk now. It was good early, but like I said, it is not worth the risk anymore. It's like almost $20 million in market cap. How high can it really go? Maybe another 5x, maybe to 100 million, or you might just die from here. So it all depends on how greedy the team is. Now, why would you risk your money based on the team's greed? It's not worth. If you got in at 2, 3, 4 million, it makes sense to hold or at least take some profits on it and then keep a million back. But as a new investor in Momo, what the fuck is called, it's not worth. It's not worth the risk to reward. For 5x, are you really going to risk your capital if the team gets greedy and just fucking rugs it? Because most of these memes have barely any liquidity. If someone put in 5k at the bottom and now it's at 30k or 80 and they're up loads like in 18x, 20x, when it goes to 100x, and the liquidity is $1 million, he's made $500,000, he fucking clips 250k, that shit rugs because it leads to a chain reaction. Once one person sells 100k, 50k, guess what happens? The other people that's in profits, they start to panic sell, and then it just leads to a chain reaction. That's how a lot of these meme coins work. I'm bullish overall, my friend. I'm bullish in Q3 and I'm very bullish in Q4 as well. But I think Q3 will be more explosive than Q4. Anyways, Catnip, good to see you as well. Let's go over some of the coins and some of the updates from our project. So one of them is okay, so more revenue for all, going by high demand and previous success of all data sets. Projections showed that with the move to the list traditional enterprise data markets, which they have. So they've just listed on all these traditional data sets. So now from listing on these Google Cloud, whatever the fuck these are, they're going to be generating approximately 1 million revenue a year. And obviously a lot of this, I think 30% of this will be used to buy back and buy back and burn the token. So there's always, and they got a launchpad coming out very soon as well, or it does, for the data set. What else is there? Yep. So I've seen a lot of stupid comments and I've seen a lot of frustration for some people that's holding microcaps. Listen, this is the most basic thing that everyone has to learn in crypto is money flow. How does money flow work? First initial phase, most of the money flows in Bitcoin. You see a massive surge in Bitcoin. And then second phase is you start to see Ethereum outperform BTC, which is what's happening now. Ethereum is outperforming BTC. You guys can see Ethereum is doing very well. It broke out of this resistance and since then just exploded up. Similar to BTC, but ETH chart looks a lot more bullish than obviously Bitcoin does. So currently we are in that phase 2. And then at the same time, we're kind of in between phase 2 to phase 3 because at the same time, what we've seen a lot of high caps pump aggressively as well. One of my favorites, one of my biggest holdings, has pumped approximately 3x, or was one of my biggest holdings. I just skimmed a decent amount of profits out of this. But this has pumped almost 3x from the lows, which is quite impressive for a high cap. And then you got the likes of Ondo breaking $1 again, which is very, very bullish. It's pumping, decent pump. Injective is doing very well. XRP is doing very well. XLM is doing very well. ADA is doing very well. A lot of these high caps are starting to move now. And this is where phase 2 and phase 3 are happening at the moment. And keep in mind, guys, we are, as altcoin holders, we are last on the list. Micro cap holders are last on the list. Large cap has gone full vertical, seeing a blow off tops. Mid cap, low caps all tend to pump around the same time. So, we are going to be in that final phase because what happens is people take profits on Bitcoin, bang it in Ethereum. Then Ethereum holders take profits on the Ethereum, put it into large caps because that's how the money flow works. And then large cap holders take profits from the large caps and then start to get degen. And then the money flow just kind of goes down. But we are last on the list. This is how it worked last year. This is how it worked in 2023. And this is how it's worked in previous cycles as well. Bitcoin, after the ETF led the charge, Ethereum followed later on. And then after a couple of weeks to a month, it may say 3 weeks max, altcoins started to pump, and then the narrative started to take over. So, you have to have a few weeks to a month of pumping, and then one narrative takes over. So, and my bet on that one narrative is probably RWA, just because it's getting the most adoption at the moment. So yeah, if you're holding micro caps and you're wondering why is my micro cap or my low cap not pumping, it's very simple, because the money flow has not started to come there yet. We're in phase 2 mostly, and then a little bit of phase 3. Soon we'll be in phase 4, where the low caps will pump. There's always going to be a few low caps pumping, obviously. Like I said, the ones that are narrative plays, they're going to be pumping maybe in a few weeks, maybe max a month, which is plenty of time. Plenty of time. A lot of these projects are going to be releasing very, very bullish news back to back when the market gets bullish. They normally save their, developments till the market gets bullish. So, boy Mike from London, what's the price target for Sensei by the end of July to early August? I think Sensei right now, if you go on Twitter, is being shielded so hard. And I do think that, if they got big announcements, so you guys can see big things coming between now and September. One of them is new ways to build chatbots, major AI engine updates, and huge partnerships in the works. One of the partnerships they released was with ASI. Massive partnership this is. They're going to be bringing two whatever the fuck is called together. ASI is a massive AI company in the crypto space. So these guys are doing well. New partnerships, new developments, and possibly more listings at the end of the year. I think they will get one more listing by the end of this year, in my opinion. So overall, we are looking very, very bullish. Propbase, another coin that's very, very bullish, still at the range lows. If you're looking for a solid RWA coin, Propbase is a phenomenal levels. Because if you zoom out the year, it's at the range lows. You're not going to get better buying opportunities than this, in my opinion. So only $11 million in market cap, probably like 60K holders. So they have a massive community. And one of the main reasons, I say to DCA or at least buy some Propbase is very simple. They got massive developments coming. Exciting times ahead for the Propbase community. Now is a perfect time to strengthen your props portfolio. We're on the cusp of some game-changing developments. Some you've all whispered about. Others will take you by complete surprise. Stay tuned for announcements. It will redefine the possible, what's possible with Propbase. So, we know they got more listings come in, a tier 1 to tier 2 listing. We know they got bridge. They're building their own bridge. What that means is, soon what you're going to see is once you have your own bridge, liquidity can shift around all the bridges. So they're going to be expanding to Solana, to Ethereum, to AVAX, and many other chains. They're going to get another top tier listing, which is obviously going to make the token pump. They're also going to be bringing new properties, and there's other surprise developments, obviously, that we don't know about. But, this is, I think Propbase will do phenomenal over the next couple of months. And they did say they're ramping up their marketing campaign over the next couple of weeks. So in a few weeks, you're going to see a lot more people on Twitter talking about Propbase. And when they do talk about it, and if RWA starts heating up, you're going to see a lot of price action for Propbase. So it's a decent buy right now. It's basically at the range lows. If you do not hold this token, it's only $11 million in market cap with like 50 to 60K holders, which is ridiculous. That's a lot of community power behind this project and very, very good volume. Look at the volume, 3 million volume. This is amongst the top in the low cap RWA coin category, and the vesting is phenomenal. It's performance based unlocks. If the token does not perform, they simply do not unlock. It's that simple. So, these guys are just, I think this is so undervalued, it's ridiculous. Thoughts on AVAX as a trade? It really hasn't done much, and it feels due to for a pop. I think AVAX is a good trade, and one of the reasons I say that is because if you look at AVAX on his BTC pair, let's go on here. Let me just show you guys what I'm talking about. AVAX BTC. You look at AVAX on his BTC pair, it just broke out of a very long-term trend in a downtrend. And one of the ways you know if an altcoin is going to perform or not is you look at the trend, the long-term trend. So let's say we come down here. If a project is showing a lot of strength against its BTC pair, that genuinely means that the run for this coin is going to start at some point. So it has broken out of this trend, which is obviously very, very bullish. Maybe we can come down and retest one more time. However, the overall picture for this project is bullish, my friend. So it's not a bad trade, not a bad trade at all. Tim, good to see you as well, my friend. How you been? Good to see you. How do you calculate? How much ETH to keep for gas fees? Look, as Ethereum gets more and more fucking popular and starts the gas fees are going to get ridiculous again, bro. So I would still keep a decent amount. Probably keep like 500 for gas fees, 500 minimum. Yes, Sensei can hit 0.01, of course. I think BTC 100, 200k by now. 200k is too much, my friend. I genuinely don't think 200k is always on the cards, but why would you risk that? The best thing to do, in my opinion, and make sure you guys remember this, right? Once we get to the 150 region, maybe take out 50, 60%, and then you can potentially keep a 40% moon bag, unless BTC can go up higher. There's a chance, but why would you take the risk? It's not worth the risk, in my opinion. So, 150 is a good area, 140, that's a good area to start booking profits. But honestly, there's no point being one of those people because you are going to hear a lot of people, once we get close to 150, you're going to hear people scream 200k, honestly. And it's the same way we got to 70, people were screaming 100k last cycle and it never happened. There's always going to be a narrative to fuck us up. So 200k unlikely this cycle. Buzz, good to see you, my friend. I appreciate that. What do I think is next for BTC? I think BTC right now, because all the fucking big whales, there's actually a whale who bought in 2014 for 50,000 worth of Bitcoin. Today or recently, he sold all his position for like 2.5 or 2.4 billion dollars. So he's one of the main reasons we are kind of, struggling to go higher. But at the same time, Bitcoin is just chopping in this area. It can always, like I said, it can always come down to this area, retest the trend line, and then explode up. But the next liquidity grab is at like 120. So there's two scenarios. We can go up, have a little small correction, and then explode up, or we can come down here, grab the liquidity or whatever, retest this trend line and then explode up. There's two scenarios. I don't really know which one is going to be at the moment, just because I can't predict what the market makers are going to do. What Binance is going to do, what these exchanges are going to do. So it's hard to say. Sensei needs Alex Becker. Sensei don't need Alex Becker, bro. Alex Becker's fucking hard to get anyways. You think, bro, imagine how much money you have to pay to Alex Becker. It's not even fucking worth. Unless you pay him cash, then it's calm. But if you're paying him tokens, bro, he's gonna fucking rape the charts, bro. It's not even worth. If you're a coin with a large amount of liquidity, it makes sense to get Alex Becker. If you're a fucking low cap 10 to 20 million, bro, once a lot of these Alex Becker coins, once he starts selling, you're gonna get fucked. It is on a discount, yes. It is on a discount, but we'll have to see what StateX does have crypto.com, another listing coming at some point. So keep that in mind. They have a secondary market for crypto.com sometime in Q3 or Q4, and they've got massive partnerships. It's all about bringing it out with their project. So they know how to market it anyways. Softlex, appreciate that, my friend. I'm not really, but I appreciate it anyways. Can you share with us some tokens, market cap of 2-3 million? Yeah, look, another token I told you guys to buy recently was Hint. Hint has been doing very, very well. If you got in when I told you to get in, you'd be up a decent amount. So you'd be up around 30 to 50%. Well, 50%. It's not bad. 50% is pretty impressive. For micro cap. Like I said, money flow wise, we haven't really gone to the low caps yet. So when the money starts to flow in the low caps, this is going to do really well. But this is one of the top performing agents, 271% the last 3 months. So a lot of people will be like, oh, why is this thing pumping? Well, it's pumped fucking 273% the last 3 months. And how these gains, that's the impressive part, how the gains, which means a lot of people are not willing to sell yet. and that's very positive. Crypto always only down 4% in 1 month chart. Have patience. Yeah, it's not in the it's a stable coin. That's the problem. People don't get frustrated. I think people will be more frustrated with it all if if it was dumping, but it's not dumping. It's literally it's been in the same range, the 3.8 to the 4% region since May. So it's not really dumping. It's just not pumping, and people get frustrated. One thing I can always tell you guys: never ever sell the lows of a project. This is what the retards do. They sell the lows of a project to go and chase pumps. This is the most stupidest thing you can do. It might work out 1 out of 10 times. Might work out for you 1 out of 10 times. A majority of the time, you're going to end up getting dumped on. So never ever sell the lows of one of your projects to go and chase, a pump on another project that's pumping. It's just the most stupidest shit you could ever do. But I'm going to be live for another 15 minutes max. It's Saturday. I'm sure there's a UFC fight today, no? Yeah, Methodos is not bad, bro. Methodos is pretty decent. Gaming projects are fucked. Suggest me quantum computing token. Quanks is a good quantum computing token. This one right here. IB is backed and supported by IBM. This is a good quantum computing token. Ross, how you been, my friend? Long time no see. Top 5 low cap, deep in low cap coins, AI agent. I'm not doing top 5 any of those, bro. That's too long. I don't have a top 5 low cap deep in coins. I have a list of them for trade, but I'm not really gonna. SMT, Autos, UBX. UBX is fucking rugged. SMT is ass, and Autos is mid. You can DCA, but DCA is small amount. I put like a couple $100 in Unity recently. Couple $100. Like, bro, you can literally double your bag with a few $100. Like if you bought a bunch down here, which is what it was for a while, if you bought a bunch down here at 0.01 region, it's not really down a lot for a micro cap. It's only down 40%, which might sound like a lot, but if you look at some of the high caps, even the likes of something like Peak is probably down the same amount on the 3-month chart. Look at this. Oh, it was down a decent amount. If you got into this in May, it was at 11 cents. At the very lows, it went down to 5 cents. So a lot of these high caps and mid caps or whatever, they get fucked just as hard as this. But this had an aggressive pump in April, as I said. It was looked like a fucking artificial chart, but still, it did pump. So it's not immune to pumping. No one is more bullish than me. That's the concern, my friend. If you're bullish, it might be time to fucking sell everything. Yeah, I'm gonna be sending alt hard, bro. A lot of people are concerned about alt marketing, and I've very, 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 I've explained it to the team very well. I was on the phone with them for like a whole hour, explaining to them like who you're marketing to. You're fucking marketing to retards, who are used to meme coins, like complete retards. That's who you need to market to. You guys are wasting money on all these articles and all these other random. No one reads them, bro. Crypto is like degens, young people. If you're marketing through articles, no one fucking reads the articles. Let's be honest, bro. I've never ever read any of the articles always posted. I've read maybe 1 or 2, but other than that, I've never read them. Like most people in crypto now, or in general around the world, have a 5-minute attention span because they got TikTok brains. Most people have TikTok brains, why are you releasing articles as a marketing thing? It makes no sense. Unless some articles are mentioning them without them paying for it or marketing, whatever, then it's fine. They get mentioned because they're doing something good. But if you're spending actual money on articles, no one fucking reads them. And that's why all is unknown by probably 99% of influencers or shillers everywhere. They don't know them. And they don't know who to pay to shill. They got KOLs, but those KOLs are terrible. They don't have the audience. They don't have DGen audience. You need KOLs that are DGen and have DGen audience that want to buy low caps. A majority of these KOLs, they're either Binance KOLs. Most Binance KOLs probably either shit in BNB, BTC, and ETH, and that's all they're gonna buy. That's the reality. So I explained that to them, and now they understand, and now they know how to market. That's why they've reached out to the top 10 biggest influencers, DGen influencers, the likes of Alex Becker, House of Crypto, etc. Because it makes sense. That's who the target audience is. They're not a fucking $1 billion coin. They're a $20 million coin, a DGen low cap. So you need to target the DGens, and I explained that to them, and they understand now, and they're gonna switch up. They got a new marketing lead, and I'm helping them. So all the people that's in a few months, I guarantee you in a few weeks, in a few months, whatever, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, I wish I never sold more, or I wish I bought more. This is how it always is. How many people, because I never really spoke about Sensei too much, but how many people, I've heard many people say, I wish I bought more Sensei. It's always, I wish I bought more after he pumps. Why the fuck are you not buying when it's at the bottom of the range for the last 4 months? This is why most people don't make money, because they don't have the conviction level. It's all about conviction. If you have conviction, you're going to DCA regardless. In a few months, we're going to come back to this live stream, and I'm going to explain to people when this pumps back up to 20, 30, 40, 50 cents, I'm going to tell people, what I'm telling people now, if you spent time accumulating here, when it explodes up here, you're going to make a shit ton of money. And then the people that sold down here, they're going to be aping up here, over here, and then they're going to become bag holders again, and we're going to sell into them. That's how it works. So it's always, I wish I got more after it pumps. And that's the problem with most people. And that's why most people are not successful in crypto, because they lose conviction. They get bored down here because it's not pumping. And then as soon as it pumps, they maybe hold a small bag and they'll be like, oh, I wish I bought more. I wish I done this. I wish I done that. Wishing don't make you money. Thoughts on bruv? That just launched, so it's kind of hard to give you a thought on that, my friend. But yeah. It is indeed perfect AI, my friend. It has everything. It has the storage, the data, the AI agents, and the compute coming up soon. So it's just a matter of patience with some project. Sniff to 100x. It's possible. Hey, look, if we get a gaming run, a lot of these gaming coins are gonna go fucking stupid, bro. It's all about if we get a gaming run. Yo, smash the likes, guys. Come on, man. Fucking 97 people watching, and we only got 46 likes. That's crazy works. Who else is gonna be fucking live on a Saturday, bro? That's crazy. Hint prediction. I do think Hint will probably do a 10x from here. I think, if he does a 10x, that's between, from here it's hard to say, but if we get a little dump, it gets to 4 million, he can easily do a 10x. $40 million in market cap for this should not be that hard. And the reason is because, if you compare other projects to this is like the chain link of AI agents. That's the best way to put it. It gives you all the up-to-date, it's like an oracle for AI agents. That's the best way to put it. It's the oracle of AI agents. And that's why I think it'll do very well, because there's a lot of people are using it. And once they're, and another good thing that's coming for this project is, yes, it's on base, but they're looking for more chains. Once their main product is out and the mainnet is out, guess what? They're going to be expanding to Solana. They're going to be expanded to BNB and a bunch of other chains. So that's what the CEO said. He said they have a bunch of chains reaching out to them to expand there, which is always good, because, look at the volume, very impressive volume, 4 million, 2 million volume. And you don't see this across many low caps. And this has one of the best vesting schedules I've seen for a low cap as well. Yeah, I do agree with you, boss, bro. I think greed is the reason, yeah. When I tell people put in small, tiny amounts in these degens, they get greedy. And keep in mind, guys, when people genuinely say, put in whatever you can afford to lose, because a lot of these degens can go down 50 to 60 to 70%. And people don't realize that in a bullish market, but when the market gets fucked, you tend to feel it. You start to understand and you learn from your mistakes. Sometimes going through that situation is good, because you tend to learn. And the way that most people in crypto learn something is by losing money. You have to lose money to understand, to learn, and you don't make the same mistakes again. So You know, everyone in crypto, including myself, including everyone, has lost a bunch of money in order to learn all these stuff. But bro, does it fucking look like I'm Indian, bro? What kind of fucking question is that, bro? Come on. Bro, why are you asking me am I fucking Indian? Do I look Indian to you? The fuck? What kind of question is that? Ross, bro, you're not back on the grind, Ross. When I was streaming these times, you was always awake. It's a good time to buy Snift. But listen, don't focus too much on gaming, but Lightlink is a good buy. And one of the reasons I say Lightlink is not a bad buy is because it doesn't dump as hard. So even if the market has a little correction, just look at the chart, bro. It's been in the same fucking region for like almost a year now, since 2024, August 2024. So pretty much looks like it's bottomed out, you know. So Lightlink is good. And the reason Lightlink is good is because it's a layer 2 narrative, and layer 2s will pump with Ethereum. So there's going to be a time where the layer 2s will pump and that will become a mini narrative. And that's when you're going to see Lightlink maybe explode up randomly. So yes, I think Lightlink's a good buy. OTK is good DCA, and Snift is not bad either. But I wouldn't focus too much on gaming at the moment until we see some life in gaming. At the moment, I would be focused more on RWAs and AIs. Bro, this guy never learns, bro. I might have to just fucking... Bro, Ahmed, you just never learn, bro. Fucking hell. You're literally in the fucking Telegram group as well, and you ask the same questions there. I've answered your question like 50 times, bro. If I was coming to the markets right now, Prince, how would I allocate 100K? Look, the best thing you can do to avoid losing money is put 60% of that into a high cap or 2 high caps. So split it between, even 3 high caps, 20, 20, 20, you could do that, and then spend 40K on some low cap I would say not super low cap, but some low caps like the likes of Brickin, the likes of Prop Base, the likes of Alt, the likes of Nye. Nye is performing very, very well recently, and it's going to continue to perform because the mainnet will go live, sometime this month. So obviously it did dump initially, but it's up 30% the last 7 days. Like I said, some coins will pump in the markets, but some won't, and it's not anything out of the ordinary. Like, these guys have the mainnet out, and that's one of the main reasons it's pumping. So this is a good buy. Is if you go on the 3-month chart, is at the lows. Is pretty much at the lows. It's been in the same range for 3 months. This is a good buy. Prop Base is a good buy. Brickin is a good buy. ATR not so much. ATR has pumped a decent amount. Or is a phenomenal buy. But if you got 100K, my friend, I do not risk going full degen. You need to get at least 60% in high caps. Whether it's Ondo, Injective, C, just find a good high cap, Tau, whichever it is. Those are phenomenal ones. And then you also can get some money in the ESX as well as like a lower cap RWA coin. But it's newer, it's fresh. They have a big bunch of KOLs. Just wait the chart, just leave the chart to bottom out. As it bottomed out, can you always go down here, put a double bottom? Of course you can. You can always do it. So don't DCA aggressively. Had a decent pump from here to here, almost like a 4-5x pump, or 3 to 4x pump. And after a massive pump, you're gonna get some sort of correction anyways. Pretty standard, normal things. One hour's done, guys. Let me see if there's any good questions in the chat. I'll be live again very soon. I got a wedding tomorrow, so I'll probably be live on Monday. What do you think about DNA? I saw last shot mention it. I need to look into it. Look, DNA is a decentralized science narrative. It's like a random narrative. I personally would not put anything significant into it, and that is because that's not a big narrative in crypto. Decentralized science is not a narrative, and it was a narrative back in 2022, early 2023, but that's years away, bro. Since then, all the decentralized science coins have been dead. But the good thing about it is they're generating revenue, which is important. Any project that is generating actual real life revenue will never ever die, ever. So it doesn't matter, like, if all goes down another 5-10%, it'll probably shoot up 5-6x, but it will never die. It will be here next cycle as well. That's the most important thing. You need projects that's going to make your life change your money over the span of 5 years even. The people that made the most money on Chainlink is the people that held it since 2018, 2019, and they sold in 2021. Sometimes it takes a few years. Sometimes it could take even more. Look at that guy that held 50K worth of BTC from 2014. In 10 years, he made billions. That is enough for him to last his lifespan, his son's lifespan, his fucking grandson's lifespan. $2 billion is a lot of money. That's generational wealth. That's all it takes. Sometimes it could take longer. It doesn't matter. So you have to, investment. A lot of people, the DGens in crypto, they're used to the 3 months to 5 months pumps, but there's some investments you can hold on to for a while because they can really do you well in the long grand scheme of things. That's why the people in this community have staked their tokens in 7 years, because in 7 years, this could be fucking $5. And then they got in at 2 cents or 1 cent. And that's life-changing money. That's the difference. Some people have a different type of investment. The real investments don't. The real investors, once you get past a certain percentage in your portfolio, a certain amount in your portfolio, you don't care about 2-3 months time. You look for the future, because your goal is then, once you actually create wealth, your goal is then to keep your wealth and slowly grow your wealth. Because if you keep your wealth in cash, you lose 10% every year, purchasing power through inflation. If you keep it in stocks, is stocks going to outperform cash? The reality is it doesn't. So you have to keep your asset into something that's going to appreciate more than the currency depreciates, which is about 10% a year. So Bitcoin, why do you think Michael Saylor is so heavy in Bitcoin? Because he's thinking in a 10-year, 20, 30 time frame. In the grand scheme of things, fiat will always lose. You will always lose your purchasing power. And the average person is retarded, so they don't understand. They think because their bank account is the same figure it was 2 years ago, that they saving money. But how can you save it? You can never save yourself to being rich, ever. It doesn't matter if you got 50K in your bank account today. In 2-3 years' time, that 50K will be less than what it is. It might be the same figure, but your purchasing power has decreased. A banana now might cost £2. A banana in 5 years' time might cost you £4. And now you lost 25%, 50% of your purchasing power. That's how purchasing power works. It's basic stuff. Once you hit a certain point of your portfolio, like I said, you look to preserve your wealth. You have to do it through, something that's going to give you more gains than the currency depreciates. So anyone holding cash is going to get fucked over the years. What do I think of Foxy? Foxy is not bad, my friend. It's a good meme for that chain. I think it's the Linear chain. If Linear does really well, I don't even know if Linear launched yet, but if Linear does well, Foxy will do well. So hard question says all your gems and massive potential, but gun to your head, which one would you say has the upside of a least risk? At this point, I'll probably say Bricken. Either Bricken or prop base. Like if risk to reward, Bricken at this point will do very, very well. It's down 13%. What the fuck? Bricken, phenomenal buy right now. Had an aggressive pump, a correction. Can it come down and revisit the 20 cent region? Of course it can. But it can also pump as well in the short term. Prop base, phenomenal risk to reward as well. It's only $15 million in market cap with double the TVL. That's the most impressive thing about Bricken, is the TVL is very impressive. This is one of the highest TVLs in the RWA space, which I think is impressive in terms of low caps at least. So yeah, that's I'll probably buy. If you're talking about for the grand scheme of things, maybe 5 years down the line, all my coins, I would say Alt is the best one because they generate the most amount of money and they got a real business model. And I think Alt will be here for many cycles. Trust me. Have a look at Julius. I seen Julius, but they got fucked. Julius got fucked because I was up 10% today. But Julius got fucked because what they done was they launched a token on the chain or whatever, and the token rugged, and because of that they had this massive drop. And this is the thing though with these type of tokens, is once the community loses that trust, you need something massive to bring that trust back. You need something crazy. So they need to release some crazy news and the trust will come back. That's all it takes. So as long as they're developing, that trust will come. The volume's very impressive though. A lot of these Solana projects have this crazy volume through massive bots. Thoughts on AFA? I think AFA will do well in a deepen run. AFA is a good project. DNA just got delisted on Mexi. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm just, boy, it's just a fucking example, G. It's an example. It's not actually it's not I'm not being serious, but it's just a quick example. Talk about purchasing power. Purchasing power is important. Mint better be IG Mint better than Lay, Solus, Arbus. Yeah, £4 a banana would be ridiculous self-flex. That'll be inflation at the peak. Mint better than Lay, Solus, and Arbus. I need to look into it. Okay, you need to ask Abs. He's heavy in the virtual ecosystem right now. I'm not really paying attention too much on the ecosystem of Arbus. What's my thoughts on Powell? Let me see what Powell's been doing recently. I would expect Powell to pump aggressively with the markets, and I'll be honest with you, he hasn't done shit, which is quite worrying. You know, you look at this is the most important thing people need to understand in crypto is narratives, right? Powell has, I would say, a majority of crypto big influencers shilling Powell. Alex Becker shows it, House of Crypto shows it. There's so many massive influencers that shill it, but it doesn't pump because the narrative is dead. And this is where marketing, people say, oh, they're not marketing enough. Whoa, they got the biggest influence in the space shilling it. What more marketing do you want it to do? Is either people have lost interest, and there's no new developments that's happening that's exciting people to buy more, or the narrative just simply isn't there. And I'll lean towards more narrative based. And it doesn't matter how much you market, if the narrative is not there, it just all goes unwasted, and it's just waste of effort pretty much. So marketing is always about timing. It's not about just randomly marketing because some fucking retard wants a 10% pump in his portfolio. It doesn't matter. A project should look past the retards and it should market at the right time. I always see people, Alt needs to do this, Alt needs to do that, this, that. Well, like, shut your mouth, bro. They don't need to do anything. It's not the right time for them to do anything. It makes no sense to do it. Deepen's not pumping. There's no narrative that's pumping that's going to make Alt pump. They can go, unless they get some massive influencer, which will cause a short-term pump, obviously. But is that sustainable? Of course not, because the interest is not there. You need to market at the right time, and this is what people don't realize. Marketing is all about timing, so this is why people need to understand this shit. Thoughts on Powell? I think Powell is decent. Is a cool, if he goes back to his all-time highs, market cap-wise, you're looking around 5x, just over 5.5x. So I think that's fair. 5x, maybe 10x max, but 5 to 8x is fair for Powell, in a run. 5 to 8x, and Powell done his numbers already. He's done his numbers already. Powell was a good buy at 9 million, and was a good buy at like 5 million. There's no point you buying at 83 million, 86 million, and think you're gonna make life-changing money. Reality is you're not. But it's a cool 5x, and then whales get into this type of stuff because there's good liquidity and there's good volume, so they're chucking 50k and get a 5x, and that's plenty of money. You that have 2k, 3k, you want to buy a coin for £500, you shouldn't be buying Powell realistically, bro. It's not even worth your time. You might your £500 or your $500 might turn into 2.5k. That's not really going to change your life, is it? So you gotta keep in mind, guys, like, if your portfolio is smaller, you have to take more risk, and taking more risk means your portfolio can go down a lot more. Like, when the market flips bullish and the narrative comes, it also means your portfolio is going to outperform a lot of other people's. So that's the risk you have to take. If you got 100k, you want to be, you should be more safe, in my opinion. If you got 50k, you should have safe and a bit of degen and a bit of good, solid but low cap projects. But if your portfolio is 5k, 4k, 10k, even, I'll be more risk on. The reason is because you're never ever going to turn 10k into 100k unless you get lucky, hit the jackpot on some random meme coin, which is going to be very, very unlikely. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I've never looked into Kaiko, my friend. I know House of Crypto showed it, but I need to look into it. But anyways, guys, 1 hour, 10 minutes, plenty for today's stream. I'll be live again, maybe on most likely on Monday. Yeah, so I will be live on Monday. We'll go over more coin reviews. We'll go over updates. And there's not much to do at the moment until BTC makes its next move. You know, when the market is just chilling, not doing anything, I don't even think you should be trading. You should be sitting tight, chilling, doing something outside of crypto. You know, and until the market makes its next move, that's what I would be doing. Because right now it's just chop. It's not doing anything. Bitcoin's at the same range. Ethereum's showing strength, coming back down. It's choppy season. You're going to see this for the next couple of weeks. You know, maybe even the next week, and then Bitcoin will make the decisive move. And then everyone will get excited again. So for now, it's just chill season. Yes, Jav, how are you, my friend? Now and forever. Future rich, indeed. All right, guys, I'm off now. Hit the likes on your way out. There should be at least 100 likes, you know, by the time I get off, hopefully. Maybe at least, let's say at least 80 likes. Which sector do I think will come on top? I think RWA will come on top. Because that bill is stable coins will obviously come out on top in terms of usage. 90 likes. Oh, that's perfect. But yeah, I think stable coins will come out on top because you're going to see all the big companies start to implement stable coins as a form of payment. So soon you're going to see PayPal. You know, you'll be able to pay on PayPal on with stable coins. And then once a few big companies do it, they're all going to slowly jump on board. So, you know, that's going to be the biggest sector I think that's going to win. But the second biggest sector will probably be RWAs, tokenization. I think that's going to be a massive sector as well. So Aptos is good because Aptos does the RWAs and what's it called? And stable coins. Both is solid. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. It is a Saturday. Enjoy your Saturday. I'll see you guys in a few days. Take care. Bye-bye.